you, smart marketer, you. You found SmartBug on Tap. My name is Hannah Shain, and I'm the host of SmartBug on Tap. This podcast covers all things marketing, from campaigns and automation to sales enablement and demand generation. These episodes are meant to be short and actionable, offering quick, useful marketing ideas you can put to use right away. And in each episode, it's only about 10 minutes long. On today's episode, I want to talk about QR codes, the phenomenon that has hit the world by storm. It seems you can't go anywhere without a QR code, and buyers are at the ready with their smartphones, ready to scan and interact with your business. I've got some ideas of how you can bring those QR codes back into your B2B marketing mix. Let's dive in. So, the Super Bowl ads. I only watch the Super Bowl for the commercials. Maybe that's the marketer in me, but unless it's my team playing, I honestly don't care. And usually these commercials, they're really well produced, right? They have a great storyline, a great arc. Sometimes they're connecting these multiple kind of commercials together throughout the Super Bowl. And they just know the viewer, they're going to stick around and they're going to see that whole storyline. The production value is always on point, and it's often, as a B2B marketer kind of in the tech space, I kind of find it hard to relate to unless I have this mega huge budget to be spending on Super Bowl ads. And we have a whole kind of TV production team that we can work with. It's kind of hard to say, well, all right, how's this apply to something I could do for a marketing campaign within my company? But this year, the QR code ad that Coinbase did, that was such a huge hit, and it certainly was memorable. One thing that I really loved that they did was they tapped into knowing exactly what buyer behavior is today. And their buyers, they're so accustomed to kind of getting their phones out, scanning these QR codes, whether you're at a restaurant trying to get a menu, or maybe you're kind of walking into a business like a hotel, and they're going to kind of give you all their, their terms of service, or even just like their offerings that they might have. A lot of businesses are doing this, and it's really kind of that in-person behavior, right? But what Coinbase did was they said, we can make this a commercial. We can get in our QR code into every single home. And I was just looking at an article, and it said that they drove over 20 million users to their site in under a minute. It was a 30-second, maybe 45-second spot. It certainly was one of the least expensive ads to produce. All it did was that screensaver kind of bouncing around with the QR code. And they did have to spend a lot on the ad placement, of course. But what was good about this ad was it was peculiar. It was never seen before. It was really odd, definitely out of the ordinary. And it got people to really be kind of curious about it. And that curiosity is a really good emotion to stroke when you're looking at, how do I create a campaign, a marketing campaign that's going to provoke action and get someone to do something. And then what Coinbase did a really great job of is they're provoking action for something that is so well baked into, like, it's second nature. Oh, QR code. Let me whip out my phone and give it a quick scan. And everyone's just doing this so naturally right now. It was easy to tap into. So how do you apply this back to B2B marketing? First of all, QR codes do not have to always be in print. Coinbase just proved that with their ad. And I would argue that anything that you are doing in print, let's just start there, should always have a QR code. I don't think it's an option anymore. So if you're doing a printed collateral, let's say you're going out to a conference and you've got flyers to give away, maybe it's a backdrop, it is far easier for the person at the conference to quickly scan your code, and instead of them typing in a URL that you might be putting naturally at the bottom footer of an ad. Also, now you can put a lot of tracking behind that. You're not going to get this direct traffic from the conference that is, people typing in your URL. Instead, they're scanning that QR code, and you can append a bunch of UTM parameters on the backside of that QR code. And now you know exactly how many viewers you got from that backdrop, or from the handouts or the giveaways that you have at your booth. You could also be doing, if you're doing anything else in print, why not do it on t-shirts? You could put your QR codes on the t-shirts. Certainly you could put it on a canvas bag. Canvas bags are perfectly squares. They sit next to you, and that could fit really nicely. And I think it would be a really good way to have a walking advertisement in a conference. But I think that's kind of obvious, hopefully. And now, if I'm saying it's obvious, now everyone's going to be doing it. Great. That's wonderful. But I want to also consider, more digital formats. And so one idea that we were playing around with, I was partnering up with our sales team, and they are using sequences, which is built into HubSpot. You can do sequencing from SalesLoft, Outreach. Sales team should be using them as a way to kind of automate their kind of prospecting and outreach. And we decided to capitalize on this QR code that Coinbase did during the Super Bowl. So the idea behind it was, first step in the sequence was just a QR code. And we put like a little line of explanation behind it. I think what one of my team members did was, how awesome was that QR code during the Super Bowl? Check this one out. And then we put a QR code in there. And it's meant to be weird, kind of, what's this person trying to show me type of behavior. The curiosity, I think, really performs well. But now it kind of gives this call to action throughout the rest of the sequence to try to pull back and really kind of push everybody to. Where we led that QR code to was a dedicated page. It had a video from the rep. It had a form on there, a little bit more explanation of what we do as a company, and acknowledged, hey, thanks for scanning that QR code. Now here's what this is all about. Here's what we do, and here's how we can help your business. What I really like about this is you get so many deep metrics and analytics within your sequences for sure. But now we can see exactly who's scanning. So we can see, all right, they just scanned, but they didn't yet convert. And I really like using a dedicated QR code tool. There's a bunch out there. Honestly, I just Googled the first one, and the first one that popped up, it seemed pretty legit, good pricing. It's pretty, it's almost a commodity pricing at this point with these tools. So it works well. And it's giving me a lot of really great insights into how it's building out. And then now I can enable my sales team with, hey, here's the one that's scanning on step one of your sequence, but they haven't yet converted yet. Maybe this is a good short list of someone to follow up and touch base with on LinkedIn. We also talked about, that the QR code, you download it as a PNG. So it's easy enough to drop into the first step of your sequence. But you could technically put that same PNG in a direct message in your LinkedIn. So if they're using Sales Navigator, why not drop it in there? And I recommend kind of doing it at scale. So you've got one QR code that you're sending out to all of your prospects in this kind of dedicated campaign. It's a really good way to try to drive back and pull people back. We're using these QR codes for a lot of our dedicated landing pages now because it's far easier for the users to scan. Just keep in mind, any place that you're pointing them to, now design the page mobile first, 100%. Must be a mobile landing page that's going to work really well for that campaign. And then secondarily, maybe it would work well if you make it desktop friendly, although it's kind of hard to scan a QR code with your desktop. But what we did was we kind of thought through it. All right, on this first sequence, the email in the first sequence, if someone doesn't feel like scanning the QR code to go to that landing page, maybe make the QR code a clickable image. Make it also a shortened URL right below it to say, if that QR code's not working, try clicking this link. That works really well too, because most people are checking their emails on their phone. They're going to check their LinkedIn messages certainly on their phone. And so if you're dropping a QR code, it's like, all right, I'm on my phone right now. How am I going to scan the QR code you just sent me? So we put a bunch of alternatives in there just in case people couldn't actually scan. The other way that we're using this, the different digital format, is we're using QR codes as an alternative to business cards. Now, it might be just because I'm like running quickly to catch up with this, the pace of where events are coming. And now we've got our team members going across the country to different conferences. Hey, it's so fun. I'm so glad we're going to conferences. But we haven't caught up yet with like everyone who might need business cards as they're going out and about. But potentially, arguably, definitely more earth-friendly alternative is we're putting together QR codes that are getting saved on the home screen of the QR code. And then that's going to be a way for our audience members or kind of anyone they're meeting out at the conferences to scan and get their information. The tools that we're using for the QR codes are pretty cool too, because they come with these templates for digital business cards. And so we can put your photo or the person's photo for the business card right at the top, contact information, direct links to connect on social. It's a really fun way to kind of offer even more information than what you can on just a tiny little business card. So I talked about this, but the pure value behind offering kind of QR codes as a deep mix of your marketing campaigns is that you're going to have a lot of really juicy, measurable marketing campaigns now. You're going to have deeper metrics on your sequences. You're going to have stats on your business cards, where whenever you're handing out business cards, you can see exactly how many business cards your team is handing out, because it's how many scans did they get at their business at the conference. And you're going to know how well your swag is doing at the conference. So if you take away anything from this podcast, do not send anything to print anymore without a QR code. It just doesn't make sense. It's far easier when anything goes into print. You definitely going to have your mobile phone to scan it. But there's also a few ways you can be using QR codes on the digital format as well. All right, that's all I got for today's episode. Like I mentioned at the beginning, SmartBug on Tap is all about quick and actionable marketing advice for your next campaign, whether that's content and maybe it's an inbound marketing play, anything related to demand gen. And I love to pull inspiration, obviously from Super Bowl ads, but I like to pull inspiration from other marketing friends and peers. So if you have any ideas you'd like to feature and have me dive into, maybe you can dig into it a little bit more on our next episode, connect with me. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find my company on LinkedIn. We're at SmartBug Media. You can also email me at marketing@smartbugmedia.com. Until next time, thanks for joining.